Well, a very good morning, good evening, good afternoon to you, wherever you might be in the world. As usual, obviously, I'm still here in Perth. It's interesting weather at the moment, actually. A little bit crazy, actually. One minute it's hot, the next minute it's raining. But before I go any further, of course, as usual, I want to welcome people for coming to the channel. If it's your first time here, thank you very much. I hope you'll find something that you enjoy. Just right from the get go, I need to let people know, as newbies, that I can go down the rabbit warren. I can go off on a tangent. So I put timing chapters in so people can jump from slide to slide because I realise that time is important to everybody and kind of irreplaceable. If you're a returning visitor, of course, I want to just thank you for this ongoing support of the fact that you're still here and you're hanging around. I truly appreciate it. Now, in the meantime, having said that and done the welcoming business, and thank you, and the thank you, of course, um, just from the get go today, we're going to be talking about lapis. It's going to be probably a long video. I'll do my best to make it short. And this is because there is so much around lapis that makes it a really incredibly powerful crystal, as well as a very interesting crystal. There's a lot of practical information and there's a lot of metaphysical information. So I think there's going to be something for everybody here. It's also up there as, well, for most of us who work in the metaphysical field, I can't imagine there would be anybody that doesn't love lapis. It's obviously been valued by people for centuries. But look, without any further ado, let's get straight in. I'll try and stick to the transcript, okay? But we'll just put it out there and go, yeah, and good luck with that. So, just a bit of a backstory about lapis, but also acknowledging the photograph that I've put in here. As you can see, it's used in all sorts of forms, whether it's the carvings, the eggs, whether it's jewellery or whatever. And I imagine that when you think of lapis, you think of images that I've got way further in the track where it's just absolutely perfect and got this amazing colour. Well, there's a reason why we're looking at these types of photographs of lapis of this particular quality, which I think it will be debatable to some people. Um, and not only that, we've got varying qualities in this image anyway. If you look at the pendant, that's obviously really, really good quality lapis. But anyway, it's always been valued as a stone by royalty, kings, queens, dukes, all of those kind of people. The pharaohs of Egypt, ancient Egyptians, they loved it as well. I believe they used to use it for makeup. They used to crush it down and turn it into a powder. But anyway, the idea is, and the theory at least, I don't know that we can say anything here as being factual, but I have seen that it's recorded somewhere. Whether or not that's rumour, speculation, or belief, I don't know. But they apparently understood and were aware of the powerful effects of lapis. Now, realistically, I don't find that hard to believe, actually, as much as I sound like a cynic and a skeptic. And this is because people of those times actually did rely on crystals a lot and incorporated them into their activities. They had their sacred stones. So I can understand that, potentially they were aware of the magic and the strength of lapis. Anyway, lapis is a Latin word. It's derived from the Persian word, apparently, lazarward, which means sky or heavens. I'm really not 100% sure about that. That could be correct. I probably should have Googled it beforehand. But anyway, you may as well say it has been extremely sought after. Some people refer to it as a deep celestial blue. I don't. When I think of celestial blue, I think of a crystal basically called celestite. But I do associate the colour lapis or the colour of it, that deep blue, with actually Archangel Michael. So it remains a symbol to this day of royalty, the honour, the gods, the power, the spirit, the vision, and it is a symbol of wisdom and truth universally, so I understand. But your feedback is always welcome. Now, when you look at this photograph that I've got here before we start doing the overview, it's easy to understand why people get lapis confused with sodalite, but they are completely different crystals, and you will know that when you start looking at images. Anyway, what can I say? As far as a metaphysical overview goes, it is known, in the first instance, it is considered to be a very powerful and high vibration crystal, and it promotes this truth seeking. You know how you've probably met them in your life if you're not one of them yourself. They're on this quest for knowledge all the time. They're always seeking to know and to understand the spiritual truths of life, looking for that extra meaning, if you like, to get purpose in their lives. So there's that aspect to it. Then, of course, because it is associated with the brow chakra, it's considered to open and activate the psychic gifts. It's considered to support a person raising their personal vibration, which is also called ascension, because that's a speeding up of the cellular structure, if you like. And when we talk about finding the universal truths, we're talking about access to divine wisdom. The other attribute, and I'm talking about as an overview here because there are some really extensive traits that we will look at shortly. We'll go into it in far more detail, but it's certainly considered to be a protective talisman, whether or not that is to do with the protection of your physical body or also your astral body, your spiritual work, your spiritual path. If you do a lot of metaphysical work and perhaps even spirit communication, a lot of those people would potentially be using lapis as a protective amulet. So as always, when it comes to the Zodiac, I always say to people, if you're new to the channel, the bottom line is it doesn't matter what your star sign is. If you feel drawn to a crystal, that's the one you buy. But to be honest, I feel in my heart of hearts that the best way to know if a crystal is meant to you is actually go into a shop and feel it in your hand. Take a look at it. Even if you're drawn to lapis, for example, we're doing the video about lapis, of course. Even if you're drawn to lapis, if you went into a shop and you handed a whole heap of them, there will be one that you feel speaks to you out of all of the ones sitting in the box or whatever. So yes, it is recommended for these star signs. I'm not sure by who, but don't let that stop you. As usual, I'll throw in the old disclaimer, which is I'm not a geologist, I'm not a gemologist, I don't do lapidary, I'm not even a rock hound. That's a little bit energetic for me. I'm more happy to be the buyer of materials, or the transit person, where I get the crystals and then hand them on, if you like. So this is not my field of expertise. If it is yours, I welcome and invite you to put a comment up, because clearly this is a field of work. Anything to do with studying the crystals isn't just doing a 6-week course. Geology, I believe, is a couple of years at university, but I'll let somebody else answer that. Anyway, my understandings are that lapis is metamorphic, that it is a mixture of limestone that, well, basically it's evolved through environmental factors, of limestone with marble, but it's got a mineral composition of a crystal called lazurite, or is it, what do we call that? Lazurite, sodalite, calcite, pyrite. And this is why you see these different markings within the deep blue itself. And of course, depending on the quality of the lapis, it might actually be paler blue than this. You saw this before. It does sometimes have gold in it. If it's got gold, that means it's got some pyrite. You know, the more gold in it, the more pyrite it has. The more white in it, the more calcite, things like that. Now, I can't say that I've ever seen pink lapis. If you have, please do let me know about that. This is just something that I saw when I was doing my research. It is, I've put rarity as rarish to very rare, because of course this really high quality, high grade lapis is very difficult to get these days, and there is a reason for that. The stuff out of Brazil, of course, is far more easily accessible, but with respect to the Brazilians, I haven't seen anything out of Brazil that matches even near what comes out of Afghanistan. So for those people that are interested in lapis and would like to buy it, you know, Afghanistan being the most renowned source, it's very important to be aware that the mines in Afghanistan were closed down quite some time ago. They're owned by the government there. And so anything that might come out of Afghanistan at this point in time would have been sourced illegally. Now, the reason why this is so important is please don't buy it, because these people, if they get caught smuggling it, mining it and smuggling it, they actually last I was told by an Afghani that lives here in Perth, I was told that it's actually capital punishment. You can hear me hesitating mentioning that, but that just, who would want to have a piece of lapis where somebody's had to actually pay the ultimate price, or their families have had to pay the ultimate price, because technically speaking they've stolen from the government. But anyway, look, good news for the rest of us is that while we can't get it out of Afghanistan anymore, we can get it from other places. And my information too is that the stuff that you get out of Pakistan is very close to what you get out of Afghanistan, and that's probably because they're neighbouring countries. um, Obviously Argentina, South America. You're going to see, I'm going to show you some images in a minute of some of the variations that we get in lapis, and certainly as far as the quality goes. And this way your eye will be able to twig. When you start looking to buy lapis, you're going to automatically be able to ask some questions. Was it sourced in Russia? Was it sourced in Brazil? Where did it come from, basically? So here's the interesting thing, I believe, that's worth taking into account, and that lapis is commonly faked, okay? Because it's so popular with us metaphysical people, or those of us, if you want to use the word esoteric. So the number one recommendation is if you're going to buy it, then buy from a trusted and verified distributor of it. The advice I've got too is to look for common impurities and the differences in the surface. And also, lapis tends to be heavy, okay? Well, I could be wrong, I'm open to correction here, but the fake lapis is often what is called dyed agate. And so basically they say, look, be wary. If the colours are very bright blue, have your little spidey senses go off and start asking questions. Now, in regard to the images that I've got here, I just want to point out that the one at the top, I believe, once again, you can see how some people might mistake it for sodalite, but sodalite has got the type of colour blue that's like the blue ink of a pen, whereas lapis has got this really royal blue to it, I guess. And anyway, this stuff in this image here looks like the stuff that I've just managed to get here in Perth. I bought it from overseas, I've imported it and brought it in. And so you can see these imperfections. It's got the flaws in it, but that's fine. As far as I'm concerned, it's fine. Mine is from Brazil, apparently, just checking my memory bank. Yes, definitely from Brazil, mine. So South America, it tends to be a bit similar. Now, what I will draw your attention to when it comes to buying online, and this is one of my experiences that I'm coming up against quite a bit lately, because I'm talking to wholesalers and suppliers and this kind of thing, and what they'll do, I'll ask them, have you got a photo of it, for instance, lapis, and they will send me a photograph, and I can look at that thing like, oh my gosh, that looks pretty tawdry as far as crystals go and quality. And I'm just getting ready to go in and argue the price with them, and they must be on to me, because then a video will go up, because the photos quite often do not do the crystal justice. But when they have it under the light and they move it around with the video, then you can get a better look at it. You can get a better look at the colour, you can get a better look if it's got the rainbows in it and all of that kind of thing. And this is the same, I think, with the bunch of grapes that we've got on this image here, because I think that looks like a pretty sorry looking bunch of grapes, to be honest. The blue just doesn't look very lapis. Looks to me a little bit more like blue, can I pronounce the word, dumortierite, just when I'm looking at this image here. But then I thought, hang on a moment, it's promoted on what I would consider to be a reputable website as being legit Brazilian or South American lapis. So I think it's about the photograph. I had a whole story here, but I think it might actually take too long. This particular ornament, just to put this into perspective, this came from an antiques website. And I recall many years ago, I actually had a neighbour whose parents had lived in India, and what she had was jade grapes, and they were absolutely stunning. So I think this particular ornament was very popular maybe about the 1920s, 1930s, I'm not sure. And in this image, just so you know, one of the reasons why I think this is a poor quality photograph that hasn't been colour enhanced is because the grapevine part of this sculpture, if you like, is supposed to be made of jade. And when you look at that, you don't see any green in it. So that's just a common thing to look out for. If you can have a look at them holding it, it's definitely, and turning it around in the light, it's definitely worth considering that. There is some concerns that I do have when they only show you. You'll see a lot of people that do the selling online of crystals and they hold a crystal in their hand and they only show you one side of it. So you want to see all sides of the crystal so that you can make an informed decision. Anyway, enough of that. Enough of waffling on. The big central one, I have seen, I'm pretty sure that I've seen some lapis that's got a little bit of pink in it, but I never thought that was pink lapis, okay? So I'm interested in people's thoughts on that. Now, the other thing too that I find very, very interesting is this little tower, the obelisk that you see there. How it's a much lighter blue and it's got the grey through it. So I looked at that. My first thoughts were, that's pretty shabby, actually. Anyway, I had to do a mental apology in my head. It's not that it's shabby, it's actually really rather nice, but I sourced it from a Russian website, and this is pretty typical of Russian lapis, just in case people are interested in it. That, to me, is a celestial blue. It's not a royal blue, it's a celestial blue, and of course it's got a lot more of that greyish material in it. And from what I've seen, most of the Russian lapis does. But it's still a very pretty crystal. I can imagine it's in demand. What do you think? And that old saying of, I think it behooves me to explain to you, if you're not already aware of it, that when a crystal has got a lot of very powerful attributes of a spiritual nature, it's actually going to have the same across the physical, the emotional, and the other etheric bodies of the aura, if you like, because as we say, what happens on one happens on all of them. So when you take a look at the spiritual attributes here, it activates the higher mind. Okay, this is a really big thing if people aren't aware of it. It really starts to expand the way we think, the way we process information. We start to look, if I can speak, perspectives and perception heightens. It's not just about intuition. It's about seeing a bigger picture. You know, where before you might have seen a problem, all of a sudden you're able to see it from all these different angles, and it's quite interesting. So anyway, that's about the spiritual growth and development. And then, as I've said before, it stimulates this desire for truth. Apparently, it supports finding the sacred texts. There's actually a website if people are interested in that. There's a fabulous website where you can physically read them. All these ancient sacred texts. Anyway, so it initiates a person to universal wisdom, purifies the aura and the chakras, protects against psychic and energy attack. And I can't read my notes here, but basically also dreaming. Okay, so if you get a lot of your messages through dreams, that's going to be part of it. It's going to connect a person, obviously, to their guides and guardians as well, because this is all part of it. What have I missed? Obviously, anything that's got the word astral in it, it's going to enhance that. I've got a heap of notes here. Let me think on this and I'll be back. I knew there was something I missed on the slide, so I might update it before I actually publish this, or maybe I'll just keep the comment here. Obviously, it enhances communication. Communication is one of the really big things when we talk about psychic gifts. We're talking about the throat chakra here, which for some people is called the seat of the soul. And basically, it's believed that when mediums do their spirit communication, that they're actually relying on that throat chakra. And so this is where the links come with lapis to this heightened sense of communication. Now, of course, if you're going to be able to communicate energetically, that's certainly going to bode well for the other forms of communication as well. So, as mentioned before, there is a huge range of physical healing attributes. Got to do the disclaimer first, though, okay, which is if you've got any of the conditions that are listed on the next couple of slides, or the next 3 slides actually, you would not stop using or following your doctor's advice. You can use your crystals in Oh, what is that word? I'm having a mind blank. As a complementary treatment to your doctor's plans. You can do that. There's not going to be an issue with that. Okay, so anyway, let's talk about some of these. And I've had to put it over 2 slides because basically it's anything to do with your ears, nose, your throat, your endocrine system, which is massive. It covers a lot of body organs and body parts, if you like. Your skeletal system as well. Think about that. So that's your arms, your legs, your vertebrae, your fingers, your hands, your feet, all of that. Hips if you've got mobility issues, and inflexibility ones such as arthritis and that kind of thing. It's just massive. So one of the things I'm bringing to attention here is thyroid gland. Okay, it's good for that. If you suffer from things like swimmer's ear, all of that kind of stuff, it's going to benefit. Also good for your cardiac function and for your blood flow, blood pressure. It's said to enhance the circulation and to improve cardiac rhythm, actually, which is interesting. If people suffer from vertigo or low blood pressure, it's supposed to benefit them as well. And of course, what else have I got here? Oh, inflammation, of course. If people have got sensitivities where they bruise easily, or if they're reactive to insect bites, which actually is one of my daughters, it's supposed to be beneficial for treating that. If people suffer from insomnia, they might also benefit by putting a little piece under their pillow. What I find fascinating, and I am not saying that you should do this, I'm not making any claims, but it's supposed to work well for people that have got styes, septic styes on their eyes, those bacterial infections, they get a bit weepy. It says rub the area with a piece of lapis heated in warm water. I don't think you would want to get it too hot, to be honest, it might hurt. Once cooled, now I get it. Okay, so you put the lapis into the warm water, then you let the water cool down, and then you use that lapis water as an eye bath. Interesting. And then if you're trying to treat the bruises, I'm glad I looked at my notes here. I'd forgotten about this. If you're trying to treat your bruises, you put your lapis out in the sunlight, you let it get warm, and then you rub the bruise, and you do the same for insect bites. Very interesting. Also very good for migraines and anything to do with the brain, such as intellectual disorders or, I suppose, frontal lobe injuries seem to be more commonplace these days, don't they? Supposedly good for attention deficit disorders, autism, and Asperger's. So there you go. If you've got any of those conditions in your family, let me know the outcome. So when I was doing my research, as I said, there was a whole range of potential opportunities to treat or to use lapis as a treatment. So I'm not going to go into all of them here. I'm just going to say, look, here's a list of them. I will make mention of the fact that it is recommended as an amulet when driving or flying, and supposed to protect a person against road rage. I mean, if you suffer from road rage yourself, you might want to carry a piece to help calm you down as well. And certainly anything related to the anxiety and depressive type disorders, I would make mention on here before I go on to the other ones. And this is because I'm well aware that when it comes to those conditions, they are actually seated in 2 chakras, which is the orange chakra and the throat chakra. So if you're treating the throat chakra, or if you've got an anxiety or depressive type disorder, you would probably benefit from using, let me think about this, crystal quartz, lapis, carnelian, and a piece of selenite, I would recommend. So basically, it's believed to stimulate the intellect, and this enhances, obviously, your decision making, which improves the capacity to resolve any conflicts. What else can I say? It encourages honesty of connection with people, and stimulates. I mean, I can go through all of this. I'm not going to, because I think people can read. Well, I hope they can. It encourages this honest form of communication, being transparent with people, whether it's the spoken or the written word. And so if you've been struggling to actually communicate or express to the people around you, then lapis would be something that you could wear. It's considered to bring harmony to all of your relationships, whether that's your family, your partnership, or when working with people. So if you've got a house full of perhaps teenagers, maybe I shouldn't be pointing them out. It would be good to have in your environment there as part of soothing and calming. Although I could actually make some recommendations on other crystals that you could put out as far as diffusing any lack of harmony in the home, shall we say. What else? Just. I'm just checking my notes, is what I'm doing. Because I've created a second slide and I'm just making sure I'm not doing any duplication. Okay, let's jump on there. So basically, it's recommended for people that have suffered heartbreak. They've got that broken heart, or they feel, when some people have had extreme heartbreak, they call it like their spirit has been broken. So it's recommended for people that have been experiencing that. If they're locked and stuck in fear, it's going to help them to feel safe. It's going to actually calm and dissipate some of those fears. And so therefore you would use it if you were feeling very blocked by your fears and limited, if there were lifestyle changes occurring. It's said to be able to build a person's character because we're looking at integrity there. It's said to also activate a person's capacity to be creative and to recover from fright. So if you've got panic attacks and stuff like that, or phobias, you might want to invest in a piece, would be my suggestion. If people have hallucinations or even psychosis, I would use the modern term. If they're struggling with psychosis or that kind of thing, shall we say, it's said to act as a protector. So you would wear an amulet to protect against that. Hysteria, I think, is such an old-fashioned word, but I put it in anyway because I think we've all been a little bit hysterical at different times in different ways, whether or not it's a phobia about a spider or whatever. But anyway, it's supposed to calm hysteria, okay, putting it into perspective. That business of creativity, that's stimulating your imagination, your visualization capacity, which of course is part of visualizing and seeing the world as you hope it to be and being realistic about it. So there's clarity of thought, better organization, you're better able to map those steps to your manifestation, if you like. And it's supposed to bring with it serenity and peace and this self-acceptance. Now, I mentioned before it's recommended for people who've got mental health problems, whether it's anxiety, depression, this business with hallucinations. It could be beneficial even to people with diagnoses of schizophrenia was the word that I was looking at. I don't know if they use that word these days, but certainly it would be worth a shot. Got nothing to lose by using it. So as said before and previously throughout this video, bottom line is when we talk about the chakras that lapis relates to, it's actually primarily the throat and the brow chakras. But of course, you've got this expansion of the crown chakra that happens as well. What else can I say about that? Not a lot. So as said before and previously, so around about this point, you might notice a bit of a change in my voice, my tone, the volume, or whatever, for which I apologise for in advance. As always, life gets in the way. Sometimes you've got to stop and start and this kind of thing, which is what has happened to me in the recording of this video. Now, I could go back and re-record. We know that, but I've decided that where I may error or make errors in the process of recording and that kind of thing, or where it may deviate from what might be considered to be professional practice and that kind of stuff as far as quality assurance goes, I've decided I'm actually really comfortable with that. And that's because I really dislike AI. So I would rather have people know that actually there's a human being that is sitting there going through the efforts of putting together these videos. So anyway, getting back on topic, because I've waffled now, as I do. As far as being able to use lapis, there is so many ways you can use it. Obviously, when we're in the metaphysical world, we like it in all forms. Generally, we like it in spheres and orbs. We like palm stones. We like tumble stones because they're easy to wear. They're easy to carry. If you've got those little neck cages, I tend to alternate my crystals out. So even if it's a lapis cube, I can put that into my little cage and it's great. So I can wear that as an amulet if I like. Obviously, then it's very popular as a pendulum for divination purposes as well. For the crystal and metaphysical healers, they will like to use them in their treatments. We call it a treatment when they're doing a healing or energy work session on a person. So they might like to use lapis in gridding. Of course, I've put this picture up here of the elephant because it's a carving, and you can get carvings in so many different forms. I could have put up, but I didn't, some of the beautiful Native American artwork where they mosaic with lapis and other crystals, and it's just absolutely stunning. And usually that's for religious purposes and rituals. Other times you've got the jewelry here. These earrings I've put up because you can see they are just so pure. By the way, that is genuine lapis. Hazarding a guess, I would say that's from Afghanistan or Pakistan lapis. And the necklace that you see there, that potentially is, it's not a very good photo, but it gives you an idea of how they use it. I think the pendant on that necklace is actually a carving, and that might be an amulet as well. And then it's got the lapis beads around it. But other times, what I've seen is where people might have the what we call the raw ore or the rough, the uncut and the unpolished, where they turn that into a pendant for wearing as well. So you might have some different ideas. You might even have some suggestions. Feel free to make a comment and let us know how you would use it. Actually, I've got a note there. Which one? Oh, okay. In my notes, I made the point that when it comes to the elephant carving, just looking at that, I felt that it was from Brazil. It looked like Brazilian lapis to me. But I did further research on it. And this is what I mean. When you start looking at crystals a lot, you start to be able to identify at least the vicinity of where a crystal has been sourced. So while I wasn't correct with finding out, it didn't confirm that this elephant carving is from Brazil, it did confirm that it is South American because it was actually sourced, it was mined in Chile, and I'm not sure where it was carved. But either way, the point being that, yeah, once you start looking at the crystals, and this is the importance, I guess, of knowing the locations and sources. Just a reminder, though, it's especially important to know where your source of lapis is from because you don't want to be buying from Afghanistan at this point in time. It's just, it would just be unconscionable. So when it comes to lapis as a crystal message or a messenger, that is a crystal that I do have in my crystal bowl. And so I tend to know that when people pull that out, when they're drawn to it, it's because they're dealing with some safety issues. And it could be emotional safety, it could be physical safety issues, but they need that added reassurance. And quite often they actually want to have it as the amulet of protection for whatever reasons. They're feeling a bit unthreatened. So it's a reminder that, we can often go through stages in our life where we do feel particularly unsafe, and those beliefs may actually be grounded in reality. The important thing is to be able to call upon the creator, the divine, and to know that you're protected. It's basically a case of putting it out there that you are open to receive the protection. I've got so much I could talk about the protection and how that's worked for me over the years, because I have had some actually really quite seriously threatening situations. But once I've put the protection up, I don't know if I used lapis, to be honest, back then, but if I had it, I would have used it for sure. I definitely associate it with Archangel Michael because he's got the blue sword of protection if you're into angels. And so it would be about cutting any negative cords that are keeping you locked into negative situations, having you feel safe to be able to do what it is that you need to do to fulfill your divine purpose, if you like. But the other thing is too that when we're using lapis as a protector or as an amulet, the important thing is to pay attention to your hunches. And that is, if you feel unsafe or you're getting that little voice, your gut instinct is saying, don't walk down that dark alley, just remember, pay attention to it. Avoid that area. Don't keep on ploughing through. So when it comes to caring for your lapis, it's generally pretty straightforward, okay? So as with most of the crystals, whether they're polished or rough, if it comes to just general cleaning, not the metaphysical stuff, it can coat with a wash to remove any greasy handprints or sticky finger marks from it. And dust, you can use it to dust it off. And you could use a mild detergent as well, my old fallback. I only, just to be clear, when it comes to my crystals, I actually only use detergent if I have to. When it comes to things like my tumbles and that, generally just putting it in under the running tap will do it. But just a reminder, some crystals, and I can't remember if lapis is affected by changes of heat temperature. If you're going to rinse it off and then rinse it again, you would want to keep your water at the same temperature. Also, it's not recommended that you put your lapis into the ultrasonic cleaner because apparently when this is particularly the case for jewelry, okay, if your lapis is set as a pendant, apparently the jewelers will put something on it. I can't remember what it's called, but it's either a chemical or a sealant or whatever, so that it retains its luster and it looks that beautiful glossy effect. And apparently if you put that into the ultrasonic cleaner, that will actually remove whatever it is that the jewelers put on it. So you'll basically destroy your crystal in as far as you'll have to take it back to the jewelers to get it repaired. You would not immerse your lapis, okay? There's a difference between giving it a rinse and giving it a soak, okay? You wouldn't leave it immersed for a long time. I believe, as always, when it comes to caring for your crystals, lapis, or anything else, you're far better off to have a selenite plate or a bowl where you can rest it when you're not wearing it, because from a metaphysical perspective, it's going to clear, cleanse, and recharge it. Now, just remember too that if you're using selenite, it's perfectly fine to put a tumble onto a polished selenite. If you put your polished tumble or your polished lapis onto the selenite rough, it will potentially scratch it because lapis is soft. Well, a lot softer than selenite, that is for sure. Of course, there are other methods that you might use. Feel free, as always, I invite you to put the methods you use specifically for lapis on the video. It might be that you like to put it out in the sun. It might be that you like to put it out in the moon. You might be like me. I haven't done it yet because I've only recently just got in this latest lot of lapis, but every now and again, I actually do like to put them out under a full moon, especially if it's raining. And every now and again, I do like to put my crystals onto soil because it just feels like it's reinvigorating the earthly connection to the crystals. It's not necessary, but it's just something that I enjoy. Other people who do Reiki might want to do Reiki clearing, cleansing, and recharging. Some people do it with sound healing. It's up to you. Do what you feel guided with, and that's where it becomes gut instinct. What feels right to you is what you do, generally speaking. I say that because sometimes the universe can tell us, no, don't put it out in the sun, and your gut instinct is telling you that. I don't know if this is the correct case with lapis, by the way, but we go and do it, and then we actually destroy a perfectly good crystal, and it's on us. It's not on the guides. We weren't listening to our guidance. We're listening to our ego or our logical mind or whatever. Anyway, my friends, as I said, I've had to stop and start. So for that, I apologise. I'm also going to say, look, thank you very much once again for being part of my journey. I'm going to have to fly because I've just realised I've left a little doggy out the front. My little man, Toby, is running up and down the fence barking at pedestrians, which is lovely. So I've got to let him back in. But in the meantime, I'm going to say, love you, leave you, catch you on the next video. Have a blessed day, blessed week. If I don't catch you beforehand, feel free to watch the Sunday yarning. Take care. Bye-bye for now.